So this is going to be part 2 of my X-Men Apocalypse spoiler review. And in this video, I'm going to focus on Mystique, Nightcrawler, and Psylocke. So let's start with Mystique, and this is probably going to be like the major one of this video in particular. I feel like overall in this movie, I was mostly let down by Mystique and by Jennifer Lawrence in the role. I really feel like at this point in the movies, she didn't really want to be there. I didn't really want her to be there. I wasn't really feeling it. She wasn't really feeling it. It was kind of this weird, like, mutual just... Nah, like nobody was about it. Nobody was about it. She wasn't about it. I wasn't about it. And a lot of other people weren't about it either. And it was just really sad to see. I'm just like, this girl, like, I understand where like the appeal is for a lot of people because Jennifer Lawrence can act. She's a good actress. She's a very good actress. She earned her Oscar. She really did. She really was the heart and soul of the Hunger Games franchise, and she was amazing as Katniss. You know, I have a lot of problems with, like, the casting and, like, how they had a whites-only casting for that role. But I do feel like she put a lot of hard work into that role, and she did play the hell out of it. And I enjoyed the hell out of the Hunger Games movies. I just feel like, you know, from the beginning, in X-Men First Class, I feel like she was just miscast. And I feel like what they decided to do with the character as far as like her having this weird like brother and sister kind of relationship with Charles, but she's also kind of in love with him, and the whole mutant and proud thing, it just never worked for me. I feel like Rebecca Romijn as Mystique was much better for me, even though in a lot of ways she was very different from Mystique from the comics, because in the comics Mystique is a big talker. You know, she talks a lot and she does have a lot of emotions. Well, not a lot of emotions, but she has emotions and she has depth. She has character moments, a lot of which deal with her children, you know. Nightcrawler, her son, with Azazel, who was also in the movies, but we'll get into that in a minute. Nightcrawler, her son, Rogue, her adoptive daughter, who she raised with Destiny, and then Graydon Creed, who I think was her first child. He was her eldest child. She had him with Sabretooth. Two mutants had a human child, and he became like, you know, a mutant, an anti-mutant bigot. You know, he was against mutants. I think he was a leader of, like, the Friends of Humanity or something like that. And he was, like, trying to be, like, a senator or some shit. And he ended up getting assassinated by a future version of Mystique because he was evil and she was pissed. And, because I think it was specifically because he was responsible... In the future, he was responsible for the death of Destiny. His group or whatever was responsible for Destiny's death. And that's why Mystique killed him. She wanted revenge. Because in the comics, Mystique is bisexual, and she had a very intense relationship with Destiny, which was part of the reason why she and Destiny raised Rogue together. They were a couple, even though Destiny aged and Mystique didn't because of her genetics. Her shapeshifting allows her to kind of like, it just makes her like age slowly. So that was one thing they did get right in X-Men First Class that they explained well. And conceivably, because of that, I feel like Mystique could obviously be Kurt's mother because she doesn't age. And Azazel was on the team. I'm like, why would you even bring him in? Why would you bring him in and have both of them be on the same team and no one's ever gonna think of Nightcrawler? Like, come on, like, it's bullshit. And the movies, like, between First Class and Days of Future Past and X-Men Apocalypse all take place, like, 10 years. So there was plenty of time for Azazel and Mystique to do the nasty. It only takes one time. And then she could have gotten pregnant with Kurt, did whatever to, like, get rid of him so that he wouldn't be raised by her and we wouldn't already know that that's her son. And then by the time he shows up, he's, like, a teenager and everything like that, blah, blah, blah. Like, I don't know. I don't know if the timing actually works, but whatever. I still call bullshit. Azazel, a teleporting mutant with red skin, but demonic features, prehensile tail, who teleports and has like the pointed ears and everything. And then you have a blue skin mutant with yellow eyes. Anyway, back to Mystique specifically. I was not a fan of the fact that she wasn't normally blue, especially since we got through the whole like mutant and proud thing, and like in Days of Future Past as well. Like, you know, she was spending more time being blue, yet in this movie she's just Jennifer Lawrence, you know, and not even just Jennifer Lawrence. She was Katniss, like that like low little braid thing, that like ponytail braid thing that she had going on. She was basically a blonde Katniss, super stoic and just like, we have to do the right thing. I'm gonna go talk to Magneto and like convince him not to do this. And I'm just like, she didn't even have any real fight scenes. Like in the beginning when she got Kurt, all she did was throw elbows. Like that was it. After everything she did in Days of Future Past, that, to me, was probably the best version of the Jennifer Lawrence Mystique that we got. That was actually a really solid performance. Like, I give her that one, because that was some really good fighting scenes. I don't know how she all of a sudden learned how to fight, but that was cool. I was for it. Like, it worked for me. And, you know, that whole movie, it wasn't without its flaws either, but it still was, it was cool. Like, I liked that version of Mystique, and I felt like she was sort of coming into it more, and I would have loved to see that expanded, but I felt like they took several steps back. And, you know, the whole, like, announcement of, like, oh, I'll play Mystique again if the money is right kind of thing, it just made her all the more unlikable to me. I'm like, you privileged ass, just, ugh, disgusting. Anyway, I'm not a Jennifer Lawrence hater. Again, I enjoyed Katniss, and I think Jennifer Lawrence, you know, she's beautiful. I feel like one thing that I definitely disagree with a lot of people about, I'm like, oh, she's too fat to play Mystique. Oh, blah 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 blah. I'm like, shut up. She's gorgeous. Like, let's not act like we're blind. She's beautiful, but it has nothing to do with that. It's the fact that she doesn't want it. She doesn't care anymore. She never was interested in these movies. Not like that. At least not to what like they ended up doing with the character, of making her like such a like high pillar of like of mutant kind and everything like that. Like they ended up doing in Days of Future Past and kind of carrying on into this movie. So, yeah, I wasn't a fan that she didn't have any fight scenes, really. The final sequence, all she did was, like, slash Apocalypse's throat and almost died. Like, that was lame. Yeah. One thing I can say, though, one concession that I can say for why she was, like, blonde Katniss most of the time was to keep a low profile, because by now she's famous and people know her as Mystique and they all like, ooh, oh, and like she doesn't really feel like she like wants to deal with that. And I kind of get that, like, you know, to keep a low profile. That's the whole point of Mystique and like her like shapeshifting as different people, to like not stick out as like a blue sore thumb, you know? Like, you know, it makes sense. I get that. But also, we know for a fact that Jennifer Lawrence is uncomfortable in the makeup. She didn't really want to go nude, and she never is nude anymore. She wears, like, the body stocking, and, like, yeah. But, yeah. And I kind of want to go a little bit more into why I prefer the Rebecca Romijn version of Mystique. Even though, like I said, she is probably more different from the comics Mystique than Jennifer Lawrence's Mystique is. I like Rebecca Romijn's Mystique from the first trilogy because she was threatening, she was scary, she was imposing. She physically looked like she could kick your ass. Like, she was tall, very tall, statuesque. I think she's like 5'11", model, gorgeous, looking all kinds of right. Oh my god, she looked right. And she was actually nude. Like, she was there. She was down for the whole thing. That's another thing, too. Even though Mystique didn't really have much to say, her voice was, like, digitally altered or whatever to make her sound really cool with, like, that weird, like, effect. It was really cool. And everything, and because she didn't say much, whenever she did say something, it was all the more powerful. Like, I love the first thing she said when she was on the helicopter with Henry Peter Gyrich, and she said, people like you were the reason why I was afraid to go to school as a child. I was like, yes. And then she kicked him in the face. I was like, yes. Give me life. Like, I was so for it. I missed that Mystique. I would love to see that Mystique. Oh my gosh. Again. Yes. I was hoping that Mystique would come back. And I felt like we got a taste of it in Days of Future Past just a little bit with her fighting sequences and everything like that. But then obviously it didn't really work out that way. I think that because Mystique is a shapeshifter, they can easily recast her and wouldn't have to really explain anything. She's like, I just have a different form, and that's it. Like, whatever. Anyway, what else? I will say too, another change that I like between the comics and like other sources, the source material and like from like animated series and all that stuff that they put into these movies, especially like the new trilogy that they have going on and like the further movies, with like Lawrence and like the new cast, that I do enjoy is Beast and Raven's relationship. Ironically, even though like I like many people know now by watching my videos that I'm a comic book snob. I'm all about the source materials. I'm like, it's too different. I don't want it. Shame. But like this one I agree with and I like because one, it's super cute. Like you can't deny that Nicholas Hoult and Jennifer Lawrence, whether blue or Caucasian, look fucking amazing together and their chemistry is so cute. And he's just really adorable. I just really love it. I love the moment in the movie like where right after she got choked out and she like couldn't move and he was like on top of her, he's like I'm gonna get you out of here. I was like, that's so cute. Give me more. I'm like, Jennifer Lawrence, get it together and like actually want to do this and like do better as Mystique so I can get more of this because I love it. I'm also for it too because Beast never has, in my opinion, or at least from what I understand, Beast has never really had a long-standing love interest the way other people have. Like, even Professor has had, like, Moira McTaggart, Gabrielle Haller, who's the mother of Legion, Lilandra from the Shi'ar, and then, of course, the homoerotic subtext with Eric, which I definitely love. That's definitely the love of his life. Let's not play games. That, you know, like he's had love interests. Scott has Jean and he's had Emma. And, you know, there was a weird thing between him and Psylocke for a little bit in the comics in the 90s that got squashed real quick. But yes, yeah, but like other characters have had love interests. Even Iceman, like he had, you know, he was in love with Polaris for a while, but she mostly was with Alex. And then he got with other people. Like I feel like everyone else has had love interests but him. Until like recently, I think he may have hooked up with the green-haired alien, half alien, in Astonishing X-Men. I forgot what her name is. Agent Brand. Yes, Agent Brand. But yes, I think that's cute. Now, they're talking about Mystique might get her own solo movie, and everything like that. I think that if they do that, unless they like do whatever they have to do to make her happy and to make her like want to do this more, I think that they need to recast Mystique and just have someone else do it. Have someone in there who's comfortable, you know, playing the role, who wants to play the role, because there are lots of actresses out there who would love to play that role, and just give it to them. Like, give it to someone who wants it. Like, what is this? You know? Get some water. But yeah, give it to someone who actually wants it. Like, let's cut the bullshit. Also, I feel like one thing that's missing from her character, because so many years have passed, and because we know she doesn't age, let's let her have connections with her children, with at least some of them. Like, come on. Like, we have Kurt there. Their little thing was kind of cute, like how she's like, oh, I work alone. He's like, oh, well, you got me. Like, yeah. Yeah, and then he's like, you're not blue. And then he's like, I'm blue. Like, that was really cute. Anyway, that, and then like, you know, with the reboot of the movies low-key, because of the end of Days of Future Past, we can establish Rogue as being her her foster daughter and everything like that. And like her, Raven and Destiny having raised her together and all that going on. Like, that would be a really wonderful thing. So, speaking of Kurt, that is the next character I want to talk about. I'm going to try to go through this quickly, because I don't want this to be too long. I thought that Kurt was one of the funnier and more better characters of the movie. He was such a joy to see. I thought that he was even more enjoyable character-wise and personality-wise than in X2. Even though Alan Cumming, that version of Kurt, had like one of the coolest fight sequences in all of comic book movies and in like a lot of action movies. Like, that was an amazing sequence that we unfortunately did not get here. Like, we didn't get anything on that level here for Kurt, which was unfortunate. But other than that, like, you know, his version of Nightcrawler for me was better. It was way more in line with the comics because he's a very funny comedic guy and he's like really silly, really cute, and like adorable. And I really liked his accent. Like, everything about him was really cute. I really enjoyed it. And I would really look forward to seeing him more in these movies, like moving forward. I'm all for it. I'm very much for it. One thing though that I will say, one minor critique, and this is just because well, actually a couple things, but I'll start with this one. One minor thing that like not a lot of non-comic book readers know about Nightcrawler, because I've read comics talking about this, and then of course I've read like actual novels, like not without pictures, like real novels about the X-Men and everything like that, that have had Nightcrawler as a character. But like when he teleports, especially when he teleports like over further distances and like for long periods of time, like several jumps, eventually it starts to put a strain on his body and it hurts him physically. So he can't just teleport all everywhere, all over the place. And when he teleports other people, like even if it's just one other person, like it that definitely puts a strain on his body. So how he was able to like teleport an entire like fucking small jet full of like mutants and like Moira like out of the jet and everything like that to save their lives, which was cool, like I get that, but like that would have like knocked him out, and I think it kind of did, so I digress. But no, I feel like they didn't really talk about it much, that it eventually puts a strain on his body, how he's able to like teleport Scott and Jean and like, you know, like Mystique and everything like that, and like it never really, I feel like they didn't really like talk about it enough that like, oh, that hurts him, like he can't just do that all the time, like there are limits. One limit that they did talk about, that they usually talk about in these movies, that is definitely true from the comics, is the fact that he needs to know where he's going. He needs to be able to see it, or he needs to have been there before to like be able to visualize it in his mind. Otherwise, he could teleport inside of a physical object, and it would like, at best, it would like maim and cripple him, and at worst, it would definitely kill him horribly. So there's that. But another thing too is that even like successful teleportations eventually will hurt him and causes physical strain. And then the other minor thing that I kind of wanted to talk about, I understand that this is a movie and there wasn't enough time to go into everyone's origin to the degree that I would have liked, aside from doing like spin-off solo movies and everything like that or whatever. But I really have liked at least him to talk about his origin a little bit more, even if we couldn't see it, but like talk about it a little bit more. You know, all we ever get is that he's from the Munich circus, which we all know by now. You know, he even talked about it in X2. But we never like know about his family. Like, you know, he was raised, he was an adoptive family. Like, you know, we don't know in this franchise if he's actually Mystique's son, even though he should be. If like his family wasn't adopted or not, because in the comics he was raised by a witch named Margali Sardos or something like that. I don't know if I'm pronouncing her name right, but she's a witch. Margali had two children, Stefan and I think her real name was like Jermaine, something like that, but like she goes by Amanda Sefton, that's what she's better known as, who becomes his love interest, and they, you know, have that connection. And she also becomes the second magic, Amanda does. But yeah, like, you know, his origin's pretty interesting too, and like how he met the professor and everything like that. But here, obviously, he meets Mystique, and that's how he gets in. But yeah, just a little bit more other than just the circus thing. Let's see. I think I'm going to save Psylocke for a little bit later. I'll probably talk about her along with Angel. Angel, where is he? I definitely had one for Archangel. At least I thought I did. Whatever. Yeah, I will talk about Psylocke in another video because this one was pretty long. And please stay tuned for more if you want to know about my thoughts on the rest of the characters.